The Nara period began with the relocation of the capital from Fujiwara-kyo to Heijō-kyo. Heijō-kyo was located in what is now the city of Nara. Japan now began its journey towards becoming a fully fledged Japanese nation under the Ritsuryo. Fujiwara no Fuito was deeply involved in this relocation. Fujiwara no Fuito, who led the Fujiwara clan, married his daughter to the Emperor of Japan. When his daughter ascended to the throne, he became the Emperor of Japan's grandfather and gained increasing political power. He repeated this technique twice. He further strengthened the ties between the Fujiwara clan and the imperial family. In this way, during the Nara period, the imperial family and the Fujiwara clan occupied important positions at the center of politics. Fujiwara no Fuito aimed for a political system centered on the Emperor of Japan. After his death, that balance is upset. Nagaya-o, a member of the imperial family who had been expected by Fujiwara no Fuito, began to hold real power in politics. The sons of Fujiwara no Fuito, the Fujiwara clan, began to aim for politics centered on the Fujiwara clan rather than the Emperor of Japan. The two began to come into conflict. This conflict became increasingly intense and eventually led to the rebellion of Prince Nagaya. Nagaya-o was suspected of rebellion by the Fujiwara clan. Due to the Fujiwara clan schemes, he was cornered and forced to commit suicide. This incident gave the Fujiwara clan political dominance. Under their rule, the goal was to have politics centered on the Fujiwara clan. However, the Fujiwara clan's government collapsed due to a major epidemic. All four of them died of illness, and the Fujiwara clan's rule came to an abrupt end. The new person to take control of politics was Tachibana no Maru, a member of the imperial family who had survived the plague. He aims to rebuild the political system that has been devastated by the plague. This situation was not good for Fujiwara clan. Fujiwara clan Hirotsugu rose to prominence from the Fujiwara clan and came into conflict with him. However, Tachibana no Maru demoted Fujiwara Hirotsugu to Dazaifu. In response to this, Fujiwara Hirotsugu started a rebellion in Kyushu. This was the Fujiwara no Hirotsugu rebellion. The rebellion was quickly put down and Fujiwara no Hirotsugu was executed. However, in the midst of this turmoil, Shomu Emperor suddenly said, "I have something on my mind," and set off on an imperial visit to the eastern provinces. Fujiwara no Nakamura accompanied the Emperor of Japan on this imperial visit. Gradually losing his strength, he came into conflict with Tachibana no Maru. The conflict between them gradually became more intense, and Tachibana no Maru took the initiative to move the capital to Kyokani capital. In response to this, Fujiwara no Nakamura moved his base to Shigaraki Palace. Tachibana no Maru also competed. As a result, the capital was relocated several times, with Naniwa no Miya being used for a time. This caused political turmoil and increased public anxiety. In this situation, Shomu Emperor considered measures to deal with the spreading social unrest. As a result, Emperor Shomu came to Buddhism. Let's stabilize the nation through the power of Buddhism. With this idea in mind, he decided to build a giant Buddha statue. However, it was actually the common people, not Shomu Emperor, who built the great Buddha. The people, angered by the heavy burden, became increasingly rebellious. Social unrest did not subside, with incidents of arson occurring. At that time, a series of earthquakes occurred. Shomu Emperor, who believed that heaven is also angry with the current politics, accepted the wishes of the people. Emperor Shomu then decided to move the capital back to Heijō-kyo. After moving from place to place for 5 years, the capital finally returned to Heijō-kyo. The Great Buddha was completed in Heijō-kyo and Shomu Emperor of Japan abdicated. After Shomu Emperor abdicates, the next Emperor of Japan must be decided. The person chosen to be the Emperor of Japan was Emperor of Japan Koken, the daughter of Shomu Emperor. However, Emperor of Japan Koken was unable to take control of political power. This is because Emperor of Japan Koken's mother, Empress Dowager Komyo, held real political power. As I mentioned earlier, Empress Komyo was the daughter of Fujiwara no Fuito. In other words, Empress Komyo was a member of the Fujiwara clan. She wanted to strengthen the power of the Fujiwara clan. So she conscripted Fujiwara no Nakamura and took control of the political power. Emperor of Japan Koken was strongly influenced by his mother. Time passed with Emperor of Japan Koken losing all real power, and he was forced to abdicate to the next Emperor of Japan. This is how Emperor of Japan Jun ascended to the throne. He was raised by Fujiwara no Nakamura. As a result, he became an Emperor of Japan who followed the wishes of Fujiwara no Nakamura. However, the situation is not amusing to Emperor Koken. Empress Komyo, who had been keeping her under control, passed away. Then, Emperor Koken, who was now able to move freely, began to come into conflict with Emperor of Japan Jianin and Fujiwara no Nakamura camp. During this time, a monk named Dokyo nursed ill Emperor Koken and gained his trust. The two factions then clashed, and it was Emperor Koken and Dokyo's camp that emerged victorious. The defeated Emperor of Japan Jinin was exiled and Fujiwara no Nakamura was executed. Having won the battle, Emperor Koken re-enthroned and became Empress Shotoku. Empress Shotoku had no mother to keep her in check, and she gained enormous power. She began to recruit her trusted daimyo. However, this meant that a simple monk, neither a member of the imperial family nor a nobility, rose to prominence through the favor of the Emperor of Japan. The nobility were very dissatisfied with this. Then Empress Shotoku said, "I want daimyo to be the next Emperor of Japan." Then their frustration finally erupted. The nobility worked together to prevent daimyo from ascending to the daimyo. They forced her to abandon her plan to have daimyo ascend the throne, and she had to choose a new successor. Empress Shotoku passed away without the Emperor of Japan being decided. The remaining people quickly called a meeting to choose a new Emperor of Japan. Emperor Konyun then ascended to the throne. Up until this point, the Emperor of Japan of the Nara period had been descendants of Emperor Tenmu. However, Empress Shotoku had no children. Therefore, it was decided that an Emperor of Japan of the same bloodline as Emperor Tenji would be chosen. The son of this Emperor Konyun was the famous Emperor Kanmu. Today's Haijokyo is the capital city that has been used by Emperor of Japan from the Tenmu line. I want to move from here to a new capital. Emperor Kanmu thought, "I want to govern my country from the place where the Emperor of Japan of the Tenchi lineage had their capital," and decided to relocation. And the newly built city was Nagaokakyo. However, as the construction of Nagaokakyo progressed, people around Emperor Kanmu began to die one after another. Following a series of unfortunate events, Emperor Kanmu had his fortune read. These unfortunate events were divined as the work of vengeful spirits. That wasn't the only unfortunate incident. The effects of natural disasters and vengeful spirits continued, with buildings in Nagaokakyo collapsing and the Katsura River flooding. Emperor Kanmu was plagued by repeated disasters. Finally, he decided to abandon Nagaokakyo and relocation to a new place. And so Heian-kyo was born, located in present-day Kyoto. This relocation of the capital marked the end of the Nara period. And so a new era, the Heian period, began.